Hello. I wanted to take a moment and talk about some new functionality added in the Vicinity 4.35 release, which is our June 2021 release. And initially, it's going to look like it's only relevant to a brewery, partly that is, but if you're not a brewery, I'd continue to listen and hear some of the direction that we've got with the product. Specifically, we have a screen called Brewer Supportive Operations. Most of our brewery clients are aware that we have this. Basically, for those non-breweries, it helps us roll forward on a period basis. In this case, I have a very long period, but typically a month, where what's the beginning balance of inventory, fermenting, and then how did they package it? Basically, it was what's going on, and any other movement of that inventory. So basically, the government wants to know where did all the beer go. Now, we built a solution that basically mimics the report that they're having to fill out, a bunch of rows and some columns that are fairly fixed in nature. And over time, as we've been working with breweries, we've activated certain fields, certain rows, if you will. And in this version, we activated a couple of other rows just to make them available. But the more important part about this, as I see it, went beyond us just activating a few rows of data, is we actually have the ability to define these rows and columns a little bit more. So for example, for the non-breweries here for a second, what we've got is a list of batches that meet a certain criteria. It made, in this case, it made some bright beer ready to be packaged, as an example. And that information through all that time rolls up into this field. So basically think in terms of every cell here is something that could actually be a lookup into vicinity type data. And we can control things like by batch type and reason codes and things like that. So any one of these rows and columns can be addressed. Now, we activated a couple of rows in this version. That's great. That'll help out some breweries that need to use those rows and put some data in those rows. But beyond that, the way that we did that, I'm going to open up some access into SQL Server. And more specifically, we've got a table now out there that defines the line number, which should look familiar to you from the screen we just came from, but you're also able to go and change the description of that line. That's really nice even for breweries, for them to change and make them more descriptive for their business. But if we think outside of breweries, now we've also got the ability to really put any kind of rows we want in that screen. So think SARA 312, 313 reporting for chemical companies, maybe some SQF reporting in the food world, et cetera. So we're really interested in investigating with folks how they might choose to use this. The columns, right now this is all in SQL. It'll be moved into a user interface shortly, but we're basically able to enable the column, basically allow you to use it. In other words, any data shows in that cell. And the other thing we have done for a long time is we can attach any stored procedure to that cell. So you can define any stored procedure you want and then map it to the individual row and column intersection. So now this document, this screen, could become a nice analysis tool that goes and queries and captures, grabs any data that's necessary, typically results of batches, and then report it back in a grid that you could drop out to Excel, etc. That functionality has been used for a long time for breweries in our Brewers Report of Operations, but we're planning to expand this out as we get feedback to be able to be used in even additional industries. So we hope you can see kind of demonstrating, kind of taking what we're learning in one industry and moving it into other industries and kind of sharing that information across various industries with the same product. Anyway, we hope that helps, and we look forward to your feedback. Thanks a lot.